every couple of years or so, I guess it's turned out I like to take a look back and see where we've been over the years, and that's what we're looking at here. So if we look at how long has this been? 16 years we've been doing this, or is that 15 years, I guess, now? 2020 will be our 16th year. I was listening to a chat the other day, and people, I guess, aren't familiar with everything we've been doing over the years. And I guess if somebody's sort of YouTube centric, or they've just jumped online and they're just following feeds and they're not paying attention to archives or paying attention to older stuff, then you might not catch all the stuff that's been going on. So in an effort to let people know, and then in an effort to archive it all, just to see what else has been going on, I think it was an interesting effort. And then as the project evolved, I started to see some patterns in our overall philosophies and where we've been going. So that's what we're going to take a look at. So if we fill in all those years, that's what it looks like to have 15 years worth of a project. So I guess the next level, or the next layer that we're going to take a look at, is our projects. We've had plenty of projects over the years, and again, they've kind of, I don't want to say we've been drifting, but we've reacted to circumstances. We don't have any one project that we are going to make work. We have projects, some of them have come and gone, some of them have failed, and some of them have been successes, and I'll kind of track some of them here. So when we first started the whole thing, it was really just us playing around online and sharing our experiences. And as 2015, we started to build websites. In 2005, I could buy things like gunwebsites.com. I could buy things like pistolbuyersguide.com. I could buy things like afteraction.net. There was still, the internet was new. So there were forums back then, and there was the big one, AR-15, and then there were some smaller ones. And we had the exact same issues that we have today. Anonymous loser trolls who aren't there to create or to help or to add, but are there to throw rocks and laugh and diminish, right? So those forums were angry and abusive, and then the sub forums that would come out either regionally on a specific topic, they started to get abusive. So even by 2005, we figured we might as well throw our hat in the ring and put up a forum that was not to be in competition with anything else, just a place on the internet to share information and in conversation. But also it had an ulterior motive. We had a lot of websites, and we didn't want to have a comment section on every website. That's tedious and kind of boring. Instead, we wanted to accumulate all of our comments into one place. And our gunchat.net, our forum, focused on firearms here in, based here in Arizona, run by us, was awesome. And it lasted for years until YouTube really. So we started that in 2005 or 4, I think. It even predates Gun Websites, I think. And we had about 3 iterations of it. There's a couple of people from GunChat. I don't know whoever's listening out there who remembers GunChat. There's a couple of people, though, that I still talk to this day. Recon over on Instagram, and those were the days. So we had some excellent conversations, and we created a place online that allowed people to come and join, and it was as inclusive as we could. We didn't shy anybody away except for jerks. And lots of education happened there. And then eventually we got into YouTube. And YouTube, like everybody, or like a lot of people know, it starts with getting videos and kicked in the balls. And it was not a social platform. At first, it was just simply an inexpensive place to post videos. So we would post the videos maybe on, I think our first video was how to remove the wood on the upper handguard off an AK. It's something that's easy once you've seen it, but it's difficult to describe. So posting a little 30-second video on YouTube was cheaper and more practical than posting it on our own website. So we could post it on YouTube and link to it in our forum and other forums and on our websites. And eventually the YouTube project started to grow. Community started on YouTube, and that's our goal, is to continue to have conversation, not just to post, but to have interactivity. And as YouTube developed and they created the partner system and the community developed there, we focused primarily on that. In fact, the gunchat.net died somewhere around 2009. No one was using the forums anymore, so we let it finally diminish. I don't think that was a failure as much as it had run its course. The websites, though, again, technically and cost-wise, were not bringing in the money they needed compared to what YouTube could do. So we predominantly went to YouTube, and that I consider one of our failures. We put all our eggs in one basket. We did the YouTube game. I think we did fairly successful. At one time, we were the second largest channel, well, depending on if you count FPS Russia and so, as far as a gun channel. At some point, though, in 2010, once we were doing pretty well, you could see that there was a formula for YouTube. It was developing. There was stuff that was appealing and it would be promoted, and there was stuff that wasn't. And it was a decision that had to be made to either fight the trends or fight the current, or to just flow with the current. In 2012, kind of took all of our YouTube money up till then. It took about that long to raise about $3,000 back then, and headed off with Haas and my new cop car, and we drove up from Tucson to DC and did some factory tours. We'll talk about stuff we visited here in a minute, but drove around with Haas, and our goal there was to unite the YouTube community, to try to get the YouTube gun community to be aware that we have more than just, we're more than just hobbyists out there. We were amassing something. There was a community beginning, and I could see that there was something different there than what the forums had in the past. So that Armed America tour, failure, success, it's hard to say. Found out about the networks then and had some experience with the networks. That effectively killed our YouTube experience, and I don't consider that a failure. That's probably a good thing in the long run. But that's when we lost all funding on YouTube, starting in 2012. And we no longer focused on trying to play the YouTube game. And again, I think in the overall, that was a benefit to our channel, our projects. So in 2013, we all know what happened in 2012, and in 2013, January, Obama comes out with those 23 proposed executive actions. We saw a grassroots uprising like never before. And one thing I didn't put into this, which I'd have more time, I would put into it, is the political situation. So when we're talking politics here, at least as far as we care about, we got the end of the assault weapons ban in 2004. We had very little major issues until 2012, and then we had our first real fight since 1994. And it was not my, I was 8 years into experience online, and not feeling like, we were there to influence, but there to experience, 8 years worth of conversation, 8 years worth of different types of mediums or platforms to have communications. If you go before 2014, you remember I worked at Microsoft and AOL, so I've had some experience with the various types of communications. And when we got to 2013 and we saw that groundswell of grassroots activism and that resistance and that no that was heard, that shall not be infringed, that echoed for quite a while actually, that was inspiring, and it changed again a lot of our concepts. And I'm not saying that we had 2020 hindsight or pre-sight to this, it's just the way it happened. We got focused on community building. So the Every Second Matters project started, and we were part of that, happy to say. And then we created gun channels. Again, that was not necessarily something that was forethought. It was a reaction to the shit that was going on in YouTube. And again, that has to do with the way the forums work, and that just has to do with the way people are developing and understanding the way that we use the internet and communicating and being civil with each other. So when YouTube failed miserably in the end of 2013, tried to push everybody to Google G+ or whatever it was called, we created gun channels. That community is now 6 years old, and that's one of our successful projects, I think. The Every Second Matters project is not ours, but we champion it and we keep the website going. In 2015, we started focusing on shops and moving from motivating people to be useful with their guns to thinking about our community. And again, as we went to the Gun Rights Policy Conference, we started to change. The success of 2013, the resistance to Obama, and then the subsequent apathy and the complete lack of interest and the lack of resistance or resilience was also an influence to the tour. And having experience, we'll talk about with some of the other stuff that pops up here, the tour was a result, or is a result, of experiences in the past and where we want to take the channel. The Gun Show Loophole tour kind of started with Bob when it came down from Canada. So how many people in their 90s or however old he is have the balls to take his last couple of $5, drag his billion-ton camper with some shitty-ass Dodge truck halfway across the continent down to another country and hang out and talk about guns and freedom.
I don't know anyone else that's done that except for Bob.
I don't know anybody. So yeah, he inspired me to start doing the tour, calling it the Gun Show Loophole Tour, getting my fucking van, and doing the Daily Gun Show. This isn't scripted, so I'm figuring it all out.
No, but
815.
I have a lot of admiration for Bob for doing that, because I mean, he did it twice, right? 2 different times, right?
Twice or 3 times, yeah. And we wouldn't have done the Gun Show Loophole Tour if it wasn't for Bob. I certainly wouldn't be on 868 episodes of this daily show if it wasn't for Bob.
Like, and there's moments there that like I'll never ever forget, like the Sharpie knife fight, and just going to the Browning Museum with Bob and just stuff like that. I mean, those are things, memories that'll last a lifetime. All because of gun channels and people like Bob.
Yep.
Like, it's, you never think about like people maybe outside the country that don't have a Second Amendment but can appreciate ours and like ours, right? And even want to help support our Second Amendment because they don't have one.
And can come in and be part of it.
Exactly.
Carry guns, be part of it. All right, so we'll talk about more how the projects have not dwindled, they've increased, but we're juggling them, and nothing's trying to be perfect here. We're trying to cut new ground. And then we got the 2A History Project, which I'm focusing on now. So we've got now the tour, which every time I go on the road, I call it the tour, so that's easy. We got the History Project. I sneak time for that whenever I can. We've got the podcast, do that every weeknight, so as often as possible. Then we've got the gun channels, which isn't much of my project anymore as much as the people that make it up. So thanks to all of those. And the same thing with Every Second Matters. So that's been our projects over the years. We'll go on to the next slide.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.